Hello and welcome to World News here on TVP World. I'm Marie Cato. At least 2 people were killed and 39 more wounded after the Russian army launched a massive drone and missile attack on Ukraine overnight into November 19th. The strikes targeted mainly Ukraine's energy infrastructure, forcing authorities to introduce emergency power cuts across the entire country. Explosions rocked Lviv around 6:40 a.m. local time, followed by power outages and the regional military administration's report that the strikes damaged local energy infrastructure. No casualties have been reported in the city. However, in Ternopil, authorities reported that Russian drones hit a high-rise residential building, killing at least 2 people. At the same time, drones and missiles struck energy facilities and residential buildings in the Ivano-Frankivsk region, wounding 3 people, including 2 children. Russian drones also struck the eastern city of Kharkiv, leaving at least 36 people wounded, including 2 children. The strikes prompted the Polish Armed Forces Operational Command to scramble the country's and allied NATO fighter jets to ensure the safety of Poland's airspace. This resulted in the temporary closure of Rzeszów and Lublin airports, which have since resumed operations. Following the Polish government's immediate investigation into one of the most recent attacks of sabotage to date, it is now clear that 2 Ukrainian men are suspected of collaborating with Russia in blowing up a railway line along a major artery used for providing support to Ukraine. Subsequently, many security and infrastructure questions arise both domestically and within NATO. Poland's Foreign Minister Sikorski spoke more broadly about these issues in an interview on TVP Info.
The question is whether what these Russian contractors did was sabotage or whether it was state terrorism. Sabotage is usually a crime against property, and in this case, the intention was to kill people. If someone blows up tracks on a high embankment to cause a train to plunge down, they have to assume someone will die. This is a huge escalation of this hybrid war, because if people had been killed, we would be in a different political situation. Notice that every act of sabotage, or as is the case now, terror, always triggers a tsunami of disinformation, and it's very telling to see who's saying what. What struck me is that yesterday or the day before, MEP Brown immediately blamed the Ukrainians. In other words, he is deliberately trying to sway Poles toward the Kremlin's intentions.
On Tuesday, the High Anti-Corruption Court of Ukraine placed former Deputy Prime Minister Oleksiy Chernyshov in custody for 2 months. The former Ukrainian official has been charged by the country's anti-corruption agency with illicit enrichment in a corruption case involving state nuclear power company Energoatom. To avoid jail, the former minister has to post bail of over $1.2 million.
In the event of bail being paid, the following obligations shall be imposed on the suspect. Appear before the detective, prosecutor, investigating judge or court in this criminal proceeding upon first request, depending on the stage and procedural status. Not to leave Kyiv region without the permission of detectives of the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine, the prosecutor of the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office, or the investigating judge, depending on the stage of the criminal proceedings. Notify the detectives of NABU and the prosecutor of SAP in this criminal proceeding about any change of residence. Refrain from contacting Mindich, Zuckerman and Ustimenko. Surrender to the State Migration Service of Ukraine his passports for traveling abroad and any other documents granting the right to leave Ukraine, including the Ukrainian national passport, if not already surrendered. Wear an electronic monitoring device for 2 months from the moment of release from custody due to payment of bail. Such a decision looks shocking to me. I consider it quite absurd. Once again, I want to emphasize that in our opinion, the suspicion is not substantiated. The evidence is insufficient to impose such strict measures. All the more so because I'm not hiding. I am constantly in Ukraine, constantly communicating and appearing at the first summons to the HACC, to NABU, to SAPO. Therefore, in my view, this is to a large extent a sign of pressure on me. But from my side, once again, I want to confirm that I am interested in the fastest possible consideration of this case, and so that, as they say, the truth would prevail.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is in Turkey today to hold talks with his counterpart Recep Tayyip Erdogan and reportedly U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. According to Kyiv, the visit is intended to revive diplomatic talks between Russia and Ukraine. Turkey was the host of two previous talks between Kiev and Moscow earlier this year and in 2022. Both meetings yielded little results. It is reported that Washington will also restart efforts to bring about peace in Ukraine. According to the Wall Street Journal, a delegation led by U.S. Army Secretary Dan Driscoll is to visit Kiev today and then head to Russia. Ukraine's General Staff is reporting that Kiev's armed forces have successfully launched U.S.-made ATACMS supersonic tactical missiles at Russian military infrastructure, hitting intended targets. The Ukrainian Armed Forces leadership called the attacks a breakthrough without specifying the targets or their locations. They also announced that ATACMS missiles will continue to be used to fight off Russia's war of terror. According to Reuters, Russian authorities confirmed the missiles were used by Ukraine's forces. This is the first ATACMS strike confirmed by Ukraine's General Staff. ATACMS are U.S.-made ballistic missiles with a range of 300 kilometers. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said on Tuesday that Germany and France will decide on how to proceed with the future joint fighter jet project by the end of the year. The project, which also includes Spain, aims to develop a next-generation fighter jet that would succeed both the Dassault Rafale and the Eurofighter Typhoon.
As far as future combat air system is concerned, we have already had a long discussion about it this year, and we agree that we want to make a joint decision at the end of the year before we enter phase 2 of the development of this fighter aircraft. There are different requirements here, including for the aircraft. The French Rafale has different specifications to the successor to the Eurofighter. We will therefore be discussing this over the next few days and then making a decision on how to move into the next phase of this project.
Recent developments in the world of finance might not bring good news to those who made significant investments in the cryptocurrency sector. The crypto market shed more than $1 trillion in 6 weeks, a notable drop from October 2025, when Bitcoin itself experienced an all-time high. And as the flagship cryptocurrency saw a 30% drop in value, the Central and Eastern European market is watching closely due to significant crypto popularity among investors. Maciej Wilowski has more in his report.
After years of tremendous gains, crypto investors are feeling the pain of falling prices. The price of Bitcoin, the world's biggest cryptocurrency by market value, is down almost 30% from its all-time high of $126,000 hit in early October. Since then, falling prices have wiped away roughly $1 trillion from the global crypto market. The reason? A broad sell-off in risk assets, or financial assets that tend to have volatile price swings and are considered riskier investments. Stocks, high-yield bonds, and cryptocurrencies all fall under this category.
There is a risk that there is a bubble on the market, the financial bubble.
Crypto prices are closely correlated to tech stocks like Nvidia, Apple, or Amazon, which have fallen in recent weeks due to fears of overvaluation.
The price of Bitcoin is very correlated with the price of technological companies. So actually, it is not a gold which is a safe haven. It is a speculative asset.
Until recently, tech stocks had soared, fueled by enthusiasm surrounding artificial intelligence, but concerns over rising debt tied to AI investments have taken the air out of the tech bubble.
You have so many companies that are chasing the AI train. And, the market is really concerned about the level of spending that is going towards AI.
Falling asset prices will undoubtedly impact investors in Poland, where the number of crypto users has surged in recent years.
In August this year, this figure was estimated to be almost 7 million people.
And when it comes to crypto penetration, Eastern European countries as a whole perform well. That's one of the findings of a report from blockchain data platform Chainalysis. Adjusted for population size, 3 countries in Eastern Europe, Ukraine, Moldova, and Georgia, top the charts globally in crypto penetration, with Latvia, Slovenia, and Estonia also ranking in the top 15. In Ukraine, cryptocurrencies have become an effective way for citizens to protect their savings amid war and economic instability.
Probably only Ukraine is the most advanced in Europe.
According to the report's authors, strong technical literacy and distrust of traditional financial institutions have led to high rates of crypto adoption in the region. While crypto investors in CEE countries certainly aren't immune from recent market turmoil, rising crypto adoption stands to reshape the region's financial landscape. Maciej Wilovski for TVP World.
623 personal items, 623 silent witnesses to stories of despair, fear and doom. Sacred to many, intimate memorabilia belonging to those who perished in Nazi German concentration camps, as well as victims of Soviet crimes, were put up for sale at an auction organized in Western Germany, sparking international controversy. Alexandra Bulenda explains.
An auction offering some of the most intimate traces of the Holocaust. Stars of David from Buchenwald, sterilization records from Dachau, escape passports, medical files and the wartime notebook of a Polish survivor has been shut down in Germany after global outrage. Survivor groups condemned the sale as cynical and shameless. After Polish intervention, the listings vanished within hours. TVP World asked Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski whether systemic safeguards are needed to prevent similar auctions.
One such distasteful auction apparently took place in the same auction house in 2019. The then government did not intervene. This time we intervened quickly and with results. Items that name victims, items that belong to victims should not be subjects of commerce. They belong to archives, to museums, or to the families of the victims.
Jewish leaders say the handling of such items cannot be reduced to procedure alone.
If these objects did come from Poland, and if somehow they were stolen from Poland, then morality says that they should return to Poland. Ideally, these things should always be in a place that could educate the public, not to have in someone's personal collection.
Historians, on the other hand, warn that the issue is more complex than a single auction.
We really have to remember that there is something like market for such a memorabilia, and we should protest. We really should take care of it. But we really have to remember that for a museum, for many institutions, such market is as well an option, a way of obtaining, the very artifacts.
The auction, titled System of Terror 1933-1945 Part 2, was set to include more than 620 items. And after appeals from Warsaw, the listings disappeared from the website late Sunday. For now, the sale is cancelled. The real test now is whether Europe can build mechanisms strong enough to stop these objects from surfacing again. Because when the past keeps returning to auction, it is not only memory that is at stake, but dignity itself. For TVP World, I'm Alexandra Bulenda.
The U.S. House of Representatives approved a bill that would require the Justice Department to release all documents related to investigations into Jeffrey Epstein. The bill was passed with overwhelming bipartisan support from Democrats and Republicans.
Know that the Senate has passed the bill on a unanimous.
This footage shows the Women's Democratic Caucus celebrating the passing of the bill with the survivors of sex offender and pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. The bill will now have to be passed by the Senate and then signed by U.S. President Donald Trump, who said he intends to do so, marking a U-turn from his previous position on the matter. The documents to be released include Justice Department communications, flight logs, and files concerning individuals and entities connected to Epstein, and are expected to shed more light on Epstein's global social circle of powerful figures. And that's all for World News. Thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned for more on TVP World. Goodbye.